So I want you to picture this. It's a rainy night in Tokyo,
Okay, I'm with you.
and you're in one of those tiny, tiny little bars. You know, the kind that seats, what, maybe 6 people max?
The ones you see in movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And sitting there are 2 writers, Hector Garcia and Francesca Mirel. And they've technically never met before this trip, but they start talking about, the big stuff, the meaning of life.
Why we do.
What gets us out of bed in the morning?
Right. And this conversation in this tiny Tokyo bar, it becomes the spark for a pretty incredible journey. They decided to leave the chaos of Tokyo and head somewhere completely different.
Total opposite.
A quiet, rural village in the north of Okinawa. And this whole trip was driven by their need to understand one single Japanese word, Ikigai.
Ikigai. I feel like I see that word everywhere now. It's on coffee mugs and all over social media, usually with that Venn diagram with the 4 circles.
Oh, yeah. Passion, mission, vocation, profession.
Right. But the book we're diving into today, which is just called Ikigai, it argues that the Western internet version is, well, it's a bit of a simplification.
It's a huge simplification. They weren't interested in a corporate buzzword. They wanted to know why this one village, Ogimi, has the highest concentration of centenarians in the whole world.
So they were on a mission. Is this concept, this Ikigai, the secret sauce to living a long, happy life?
That was the big question.
Okay, so let's unpack the word itself before we head to Okinawa. The translation you usually hear is the happiness of always being busy. And I have to be honest, that sounds awful to me.
I get that. It sounds like more work.
I'm already always busy. Is the secret to happiness just more emails? Because that sounds like burnout, not longevity.
Well, that translation is doing a lot of work. If you break down the characters, it's a different story. Iki means life.
Okay.
And Gai means to be worthwhile. So literally a life worthwhile. But this is where it gets really, really interesting. The character for Gai has these deep roots. It goes all the way back to the Heian period. But even deeper, it connects to other characters that mean armor. Or even to be first, like heading into battle first.
Whoa, hold on. So it's not keeping busy. It's more like putting on your armor for the day.
In a way, yes. It implies a kind of fighting spirit, a resilience. It's the thing that arms you to face whatever life throws at you. It's the reason you get up, not just the tasks you have to do.
That's a much more powerful idea. It's not about productivity, it's about purpose.
Exactly. And to see it in action, they went to Ogimi, the village of longevity.
And that's not just a cute nickname. The stats are they're mind-blowing.
They really are. Okinawa is a blue zone, one of those places researchers identified where people live the longest. In Ogimi, they have about 24.5 people over the edge of 100 for every 100,000 inhabitants.
And the global average is
What?
way, way lower than that.
Far lower. But it's not just about quantity of years, it's the quality. That's the key.
Right, because you don't want to live to 100 if you're just stuck in a hospital bed.
Precisely. The research shows they have way fewer chronic illnesses, lower rates of cancer, heart disease, and get this, much lower rates of dementia.
That's the big one.
And here's a wild biological marker. They keep much higher levels of sex hormones well into old age compared to people in the West.
So they're 90, healthy, sharp, and still have a chemical zest for life.
Ah.
That's incredible. So how? Is it just genetics? The water?
It's probably a mix of things, but the lifestyle is just undeniable. And one of the biggest clues is linguistic again. You know how we talk about working towards retirement?
Of course, that's the whole goal.
Yeah.
Like, stop working and go sit on a beach.
Well, in Japanese, there's no word for retire in that sense, not in the stop working for good way.
That's a massive cultural difference.
It is. We see work as the thing we have to get through to get to our life.
Yeah.
In Okinawa, if you have your Ikigai, why would you ever want to stop doing it? You might slow down, sure, but you never just stop.
You don't retire from life. I love that. But, okay, you can't have this conversation without talking about food. And there's this phrase they use that I think I need to write in my fridge. Harahachibu.
Wahachibu. It's a Confucian teaching, but in Ogimi, it's a daily practice. A lot of the elders say it before or after every meal.
And it means fill your belly to 80%.
Exactly.
That is so hard. My default setting is like 110%, especially if pasta's involved.
You and me both.
Yeah.
But that 20% gap is huge, biologically speaking. When you eat until you're stuffed, your body has to work so hard to digest everything. That process actually speeds up cellular oxidation.
Oxidation, that's like rusting.
Like basically your body rusting from the inside. It ages you.
Ah.
By stopping at 80%, you get all the nutrients you need without all that metabolic stress.
But how do you actually do it? My brain doesn't get the I'm full signal until it's way too late.
That's the whole point of the saying. You stop when you feel like you could have a little more, but you aren't actually hungry anymore. And they have this great little trick for it.
Okay, I need tricks.
We tend to use one big plate, right?
Good.
Piled high with food. In Okinawa, they serve meals on lots of little plates.
The tapas strategy.
Exactly. It fools your brain. You see 5 little dishes and you think, wow, what a feast. But the total amount of food is way less. And the numbers don't lie. The average Okinawan eats about 1,800 to 1,900 calories a day.
And in the U.S.?
It can be up to, what, 3,300? That's a huge difference over a lifetime.
And I'm guessing those calories aren't coming from cheeseburgers.
Not quite. It's a lot of tofu, sweet potatoes, and fish maybe 3 times a week. And they eat a ton of vegetables, like 11 ounces a day. But there's this one local fruit that's like their secret weapon, shikawasa.
Shikawasa, what is that?
It's a little citrus fruit, kind of like a lime, and it is just packed with antioxidants. They put it on everything. It's like their daily anti-inflammatory shot.
Okay, so body handled. But the book really stresses that longevity is a team sport, which brings us to the moai.
The moai. This is maybe the most important lesson for us, I think. A moai is basically an informal group of people who have each other's backs. But it's more formal than just friends. It started as a financial tool.
Yeah, explain that part because it's fascinating. We think of community as just hanging out.
Right. So originally farmers formed them. If you had a bad harvest, you could starve. So they'd all chip in a set amount of money each month.
Like a pot.
Exactly. They'd use that money for dinners, games, that sort of thing. But if there was a surplus, one member would get the whole amount on a rotating basis.
So it's like a community savings club.
But it's also your insurance. If you fall on hard times, you can get an advance. Think about what that does to your stress levels.
It takes away that deep fear of falling through the cracks. You know someone will catch you.
Exactly. You know your moai has your back. That reduction in chronic stress is huge for your health. And of course, there's just the feeling of belonging.
It really throws into relief how isolated we can be. We try to buy security, but they built it with friendship.
And with real commitment.
So we've got the body, we've got the social net, now the mind. The authors bring up Viktor Frankl.
Logotherapy. Frankl was a Holocaust survivor, and his whole idea, born from that suffering, was he who has a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow.
It's all about the why. And they contrast this with Freud, who was all about the past.
Yeah, totally. With Freud, you're on the couch digging into your childhood to figure out why you are the way you are. Logotherapy is forward-looking. It's, okay, that happened, now what? What's your purpose pulling you into the future?
It's so much more empowering. But then they talk about a Japanese therapy that I found even more practical, Morita therapy.
Shoma Morita. His approach is so zen. In the West, we're obsessed with controlling our emotions. If I feel anxious, my first thought is, how do I stop feeling anxious?
Which, of course, just makes you more anxious.
Exactly. Morita says, stop fighting it. Your feelings are like the weather. You can't stop the rain. You just accept that it's raining, grab an umbrella, and keep walking.
The donkey metaphor in the book was perfect.
The donkey tied to a post. If it panics and tries to run, it just gets more tangled in the rope. That's us fighting our feelings. Morita therapy says, just accept it. I feel anxious. Okay, now what action do I need to be taking right now?
Action over emotion. I love that. You don't wait to feel motivated. You just do the thing.
And that action is the gateway to flow.
Flow. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's concept. We've all felt it, right? You get so deep into something that time just disappears.
3 hours go by in what feels like 5 minutes. That's flow. Your ego dissolves, and it's just you and the activity. The authors say a huge part of Ikigai is just finding ways to spend more time in that state.
But there are rules to it. You can't just switch it on.
Right. The main thing is that the challenge has to match your skill level. Too easy, you're bored. Too hard, you're anxious. Flow is in that perfect sweet spot.
But here's the problem for all of us today. We are constantly destroying our ability to find flow. And the book points to one main culprit, multitasking.
Oh, multitasking is the absolute death of flow. The research they cite is terrifying. It can lower your productivity by 60%.
And it temporarily drops your IQ by 10 points. That's insane.
There was that study with the students and the arrows.
The red and blue arrows, yes.
They took a group of big-time multitaskers and a group of non-multitaskers, and they said, count the red arrows, ignore the blue ones.
Simple enough.
It should be. But as they added more blue arrows, more distractions, the multitaskers just completely fell apart. They couldn't ignore them. Their brains had been trained to notice every single new thing.
We're literally training our brains to be distractible. We are wiring ourselves out of the ability to focus.
We are. And in Japan, the cultural hero who fights this is the takumi, the artisan.
They visited that makeup brush factory in Kamano, right?
Yes, and they were expecting a noisy factory floor. Instead, it was silent. Everyone was just focused. And they met this one woman, a takumi, in a separate room sorting brush bristles.
The description of her is incredible.
She was moving so fast, with such grace. Her hands were a blur. They walked in, stood there watching her, taking pictures, and she never even noticed they were in the room.
She was in the zone.
Totally in the zone, so deep in the flow of her work that the world just faded away, and she was the most important person in the whole company.
It reminds you of that story about Steve Jobs in the Japanese porcelain.
Oh, yeah. Jobs was obsessed with this artisan, Yukio Shakunaga, who was the real deal. He literally dug his own clay from the mountains.
That's commitment.
So Jobs visits his gallery and eventually asks him to make a set of cups in a new style. Now, most people would make, what, a few prototypes? Shakunaga made 150 different cups.
150.
150. Fire them all, inspected them, and then destroyed all but 12. He sent just the perfect 12 to Steve Jobs. That is the Takumi spirit. The process is the reward.
And we see with Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli. He announces his retirement, and then what happens? He goes back to the studio on Sundays to draw by himself.
Because the drawing is his Ikigai. The result is secondary. The joy is in the work itself.
Okay, but I can hear people listening and thinking, I'm not Miyazaki. I wash dishes. I fill out spreadsheets. How do you find flow in that?
That's where microflow comes in. You can turn any mundane task into a challenge. The authors met an elevator operator in Shinjuku.
Talk about a repetitive job.
Right, pushing buttons all day. But this woman turned it into a performance. The way she bowed, the way she pressed the button, the tone of her voice. She treated it like a ceremony. She created her own challenge. How perfectly can I do this?
And Bill Gates does this with washing dishes.
He does. He washes dishes every single night. He has a system, plates first, then forks. He turns a chore into a mindfulness exercise. That's microflow.
So you can gamify almost anything. That's very cool. Okay, let's go back to Ogimi. The authors have all this theory. What was it like when they actually sat down with the elders?
They said the village just felt like it existed in an endless here and now. Nobody was rushing, and there's this magical quality to it. The locals believe in these forest spirits called bunagaya.
The mischievous, long-haired sprites. I love that.
It shows their connection to nature is still alive. It's not just a resource, it's a living world.
And that's reflected in their daily lives.
Totally. Everybody has a vegetable garden. Everybody. They're constantly outside, moving, weeding, playing a game called gate ball, which is kind of like croquet.
And the interviews with them are just pure gold. That one woman who is nearly 100.
At 80, I am still a child. When I come to see you at 90, send me away to wait until I'm 100.
What an attitude. Just a refusal to be defined by a number.
And another elder gave this piece of advice that sums up the biology of it. He said, the key to staying sharp is in your fingers, from your fingers to your brain, and back again.
Keep your hands busy.
Yes. Gardening, cooking, crafts, those complex movements keep your brain firing on all cylinders.
And we have to mention Uemaru.
Uemaru, the spirit of teamwork. One of the locals told them about building a new house. Here you'd hire a crew. There, all his friends, people in their 80s and 90s, came over to help build it.
That's incredible.
That's Uemaru. I help you, you help me. We're all in this together.
It's just such a complete picture of a good life. So if we boil it all down for this deep dive, what's the formula?
I think it's 4 main pillars. First, diet. Hara hachibu, eat plants, drink green tea. Second, community. Build your moai, practice Uemaru.
Grind your people.
Third, flow. Stop multitasking, find joy in the process. And fourth, Ikigai. Find that purpose that gets you up in the morning and never retire from it.
It's so simple and yet so profound. But before we go, there's one last idea from the source material I want to leave you with. It's a bit sci-fi. It's called Aging's Escape Velocity.
Ah, the rabbit.
The rabbit. Tell us about the rabbit.
It's a futurist concept. Imagine a signpost in the distance that marks the day you'll die. You're always walking toward it. But imagine a rabbit is holding that signpost. And the rabbit, which represents medical technology, starts walking away from you. If that rabbit eventually starts moving forward 1 year for every year you live, you never catch it.
You never reach the signpost. You live forever.
Biological immortality. So here's the question. If we get there, if death is no longer a given, does Ikigai become more important or less?
Wow.
If you have infinite time, do you still need a reason to get out of bed? Or would an endless life with no purpose be the ultimate torture?
I think Viktor Frankl would say it becomes the only thing that matters, the only thing that can keep you sane.
I think he would.
Well, that's something to think about tonight while you practice your harahachi-bu.
Just remember, small plates.
Small plates, big purpose. And here's a challenge for you this week. Find one activity where you lose track of time. That's your flow. Whatever it is, do a little more of it. It's good for your soul and apparently your longevity. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you next time.